Hi everybody, it's Jeff here from Spirits Paranormal Meetup and Ghost Tours, and I'm going to walk you through how to use Audacity to review audio evidence that you recorded during your investigation, as well as exporting any EVPs that you have to MP3 format. And to do that, what you'll need to do is download the Audacity program. It's free and available at the Audacity website. What you do is go to Google and Google Audacity, go out to the website, and from here you can download it here. I already have it installed, but what you want to do is hit run, let it install, and then when it's done you'll go out to your programs and start Audacity. Once you get it running, this is the user interface you'll see here. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you have your audio recordings from your voice recorder downloaded in your computer. Make sure you save them to a place you remember, a place like the desktop or a folder like ghost hunting or something like that. To open up a file, you hit File, Open, and you browse to the location of where your files are. Mine are here, and double click. Once the file is in, it'll load longer or shorter depending on how big the file is. Once you're in, you'll see this here. This is the waveform. It's basically a visual representation of your audio recording. What I do is I like to expand it. It just looks nicer. And leave a little gap down here. I'll explain why in a minute. The interface here is what you have. You've got pause, you got play, you got stop. This jumps to the beginning, this jumps to the end. Basically you're ready to start reviewing your audio. To start, you just hit play, and what you'll see is this little bar here is moving. That's basically your position in the audio. What I like to do is zoom in so I can kind of see what's going on. These two buttons here are your zoom and your zoom out. Just keep hitting zoom until you get to somewhere where it's comfortable. To me, that's about as fast as I want it to move. The next thing you'll want to do is go through the audio, and you may come across a spot where, say, you have an EVP. So say I'm listening, and right here I hear an EVP. Well, what you can do is you can kind of zoom in here, and you can keep replaying it. To zoom, what you do is you hold down the mouse button and you drag. So this is the section I want to listen to. And once you have it highlighted like this, you can hit the play, and it'll just play that section. And you can just keep playing it over and over to listen. And say like right here is the voice I hear. You can zoom in by clicking, dragging, and letting go, and just play and play. Once you're convinced that you have something, what you can do is add a label at selection. That just adds a little label down here, and is why we left this little gap here. To do that, you hit Tracks, Label at Selection, and then what I like to do is I type in EVP and give it a little description. So like, get out. Okay, so now I know where my EVP is. Now what you do is you can basically go through the rest of your recording. So say I'm listening, get to about here. Oh, I hear another EVP. Click to highlight, drag, highlight the section, hit play. Okay, yep, I hear my EVP. So now I want to go ahead and add a label. So I hit Tracks, add label at selection, and we'll say EVP go home. Okay, so that's my second EVP. Alright, so I listened to my whole thing. That's the only two EVPs I get. I'm done. Go back to the beginning. Now what I can do is I can zoom back out, and I can see my EVPs. So there they are. Now what I want to do is I want to share my EVPs with the people in my group, or my friends, my family, or whoever. So what I want to do is click on in the area of the EVP, and it'll snap to your selection. I want to zoom in. And zooming in will actually center it wherever the cursor is, which is pretty nice. And as a rule of thumb, you want a few seconds before and only like a second or two after your EVP. That makes it so that people can kind of listen to what's going on and then hear your EVP, and then that's it. People generally don't like to listen to 10 seconds of audio after the EVP. And anything more than like 10 to 15 seconds, you lose people's train of thought. They get impatient and won't listen to it. So what we want to do is go from, let's say, about here, so we get this section right here, and all the way past our EVP to about right here. That sounds good. And what we want to do is we want to export this to MP3. To do that, you highlight the section like I just showed, and you hit File, Export Selection. You don't want to hit Export. If you hit Export, it exports the whole file. To Export Selection, it's going to ask you what you want to name it. So I'll name it EVP Get Out. Okay. Make sure you select where you want to save it. Saving it to desktop is usually the safest bet. Hit Save. Now it's going to ask you to give it all kinds of different values for artist name and stuff. Unless you're going to put this into your iTunes library, you don't need any of that. So just hit OK and you're done. So now your EVP has been exported to your desktop. And what you can do is either scroll or zoom out until you find your next EVP and do the same thing again. Once you get your EVPs exported, you can hit File, Open, go out to your desktop, boom, there's your EVP, and you can open up your EVP. Now that you know how to export EVPs, there is something I want to mention. When you're listening to your evidence, your recordings, the tendency is to increase the volume. Your volume setting is up here. This is in addition to the volume setting you have in Windows. Now, when you listen to something really loud, you have to be careful because certain sections of your recording, could have things that look like this, where whenever your waveform hits the edges, it's clipping. Anytime you clip, it can actually hurt your hearing. It can, especially if you have it really, really loud. It can also damage your speakers in your headphones. So just be careful when you have the volume cranked all the way up that you don't do any damage. There's two bars over here, sliders. The top one is gain. The one on the bottom is to left and right pan. Usually left and right pan, you're not going to have to deal with that. But you may mess around with the gain. The important thing to know with gain is that gain increases the signal strength. It doesn't increase the loudness. And what I mean by signal strength is it's going to increase basically all these bars here. Alright? And it's going to cause things to clip that normally wouldn't. Just be careful increasing the gain, increasing the volume, and then having somebody slam a door or sneeze could be the last thing you ever hear. So just be very careful when messing around with that stuff. When you're done and you've reviewed everything, you've exported all of your EVPs, you have the option, you can save your project. Audacity saves it out to like a project name, an AUP file. That just makes it so that the next time you open it, you have all your little selections and stuff, all your little notes that you've added. But it's optional. You really don't need to. If you've got a really big file and you're going to listen to it multiple nights, a good little trick that I do is say I make it to like here and I'm exhausted, I want to go to sleep. I'll just go ahead and add a label at selection that says start here, and then save it as a project. And then that way when I go back in the next day or next week or whatever, I can jump straight to start here and start my recording from there. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this little video on how to use Audacity to review audio evidence from your investigations and exporting your EVPs to MP3, and I look forward to hearing your evidence.